Find passion in what you want to do. It'll automatically happen.
Yeah.
It should not be jabardasti. It should not be, oh shit, now I have to wake up in the morning. My coach will fire me if I don't wake up at 5 and do this and do that. If you have that kind of feeling, don't do it. I mean, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
Do it because you love it. Do it because you want to do it, because you're happy doing it. Running has kept me away from a lot of things which normally people would do. So I don't drink, for example. I'm a teetotaler. I don't drink at all. Not even tea, coffee, by the way. I try to eat healthy, but I have a slippery slope on that one. Let me be fair. I like my sweets, chocolates. But I have moved to dark chocolates, so there's less sugar in them. Okay, but on the whole, I maintain a very decent diet and a decent lifestyle from a health perspective. I get in 8 hours of sleep every day. I think sleep is the most important out of everything. You may miss your workout, but you should not miss your sleep, because the body only repairs when you're sleeping. There are a lot of these people who say that you should work so many hours a day or 70 hours a week. I think that's all bullshit, if you ask me.
Yeah.
If you want a good, normal, healthy life, sleep is very important. In my mind, sleep is more important than any other factor of the human system.
I am Venki, a working professional in IT as well as an amateur masters athlete and a coach for endurance sports. You are listening to the Working Athlete podcast. Here, I talk to working athletes from all walks of life and experts from various sports to provide you with inspiration, training tips, and lifestyle advice. If this is something that interests you, I have a small request from you. Please subscribe to the channel on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts from. You can also let me know what you like and what you would like to listen to more of by commenting in the comment section on YouTube. I promise to do my best to improve with each episode and bring you the best content that helps you and me get better each day. In this episode, I talk to Adil Nargolwala. Adil is an exceptional human being and an athlete who has done some crazy feats of endurance over the last 14 years. From doing every triathlon distance from sprint to Ironman to Ultraman in a single year, to doing 7 marathons in 7 continents and finishing the 6 world major marathons, he just about done everything. I met Adil recently in Goa and sat down with him to talk about his journey just a day before his Goa Ironman 70.3 event. It was inspiring to listen to his journey of resilience and strength. I hope you enjoy this conversation as much as I did. This episode is brought to you by The Bike Affair. If you are in search of a one-stop destination that caters to all your cycling needs, our today's sponsor, The Bike Affair, is the perfect place to check out. I have known the founders of The Bike Affair, Krish and Gokul, personally for nearly 15 years now. In fact, my first century ride was with Krish back in 2008. They are both exceptional human beings and entrepreneurs that believe in providing exceptional service to their customers. And it shows. With over 14 years of experience, the Bike Affair has established itself as a trusted source offering honest advice and exceptional service. They are offering a special treat for the listeners of this podcast. You can enjoy a 10% discount on your first order by using the code BikeyVenki on their website. So if you are in Hyderabad, visit their store in Kondapur, or if you are anywhere else in India, shop online by using the link thebikeaffair.com. I will leave the link in the show notes. Now, enjoy the podcast.
Hi, Adil.
Hi, Venki.
Welcome to the Working Athlete podcast. It's a pleasure having you on the show.
Thanks for also having me on the show.
Adil, I wanted to use this opportunity. Here we are in Goa. You are about to do the Goa 70.3. So I wanted to use this opportunity to talk about your experience in the endurance area, which is, I heard so much about you. Ultramans, Ironmans, marathons, countless Limca Book of Records and all that. So I want to capture a little bit of all that. Before we get into all that, let us talk about how you got into endurance sport in the first place.
Well, it goes back nearly 14 years. Okay. I was in my office in Pune, and I read an article in the newspaper which said that there is a marathon happening in Bombay in a few days on Sunday. I requested my staff in the office if it's possible to get an entry into the marathon. And then later on I was told that it's not possible because the registration isn't open anymore, and it's difficult to get. Then they came back and said it's possible to get the dream run. There is a small distance run from 6-7 kilometers. So even when I had never done any running or anything of that sort, even for me at that time 6 kilometers looked too little. Okay, so I requested them and said that I pushed them a bit and said, let's try for full marathon. They came back saying, sorry, but it's not available. Then luckily I happened to get to know the medical director of the race happened to be a friend of mine. That's how. So I approached him and I requested him for the bib, and he agreed to give the bib. And then later on, when he got to know I have not run, he refused, saying that you can't just go run a full marathon. You have to have some training, some experience of the sort. So finally we agreed between us, and he gave a bib for the half marathon.
Okay. So till this point you haven't run at all?
Nothing really. So I went and ran the Bombay half marathon. I still have that certificate. It's a handwritten certificate given by Standard Chartered. Procam ran this run always, and so Standard Chartered and those days it was called Standard Chartered Bombay Marathon. And that was my first run. And I must say, my brother also ran that run. We both got the bibs and he ran. That was his run. After that, he hasn't run. I have continued running for the last 14 years. And in my family, my wife also runs, so she also ran an Airtel half marathon a little before that time. So, we all in the family began our running journey. I have continued it. The rest too have really either not run beyond that or just kept it very low. So that's how it all began as a family or as runners.
Amazing. I mean, I think I already see where this pursuit of more and more comes from. Even before you did any running, you started with only the marathon, right? Eyeing the marathon. But you ended up doing half. So from then on, how did it progress?
So the first marathon I ran at this half marathon was, I remember the time also, 2 hours, 26 minutes. It's very happy. It's only thing is when I finished the run for 4 days, I was like walking, difficulty. It was a tough, everything in the body was paining.
Right.
Legs were not listening to the mind. They wanted to just collapse and fall. So I realized that, running was good fun. I ran, during the run, there was no problem. I crossed the finish line. Everything was fine. But the few days after that was very difficult. It was paining all over, like I said. And I realized that there has to be some structure behind it. Another good thing that happened the same time was where we had our office, a gym opened in the same building.
Oh, nice.
In Delhi, in Gurgaon. And I joined that gym and I started doing strength training and I started running on the treadmill there. And that's how I began the running. And in those days, we used to have a person called Rahul Verghese in Delhi who used to run a company called Running and Living. And he used to organize these small 5K, 10K, half marathons all over. And that put us into running. And then I started looking for events. I had this thing about collecting medals and bibs, so I wanted to do events. So I didn't get into any formal training plan as such, but because I used to run regularly in the gym and I would go every weekend and run some event somewhere, so that running became a permanent feature in my life.
Right.
And that's how I started running. And then there's another friend of mine, Abhishek Mishra. I don't know if you've heard of him.
Yeah. So I've interviewed him for the podcast as well.
So Abhishek came once to my house for lunch. Just 3 of us, me, my wife and Abhishek. And he mentioned that he was going to go for a triathlon in Madras on Sunday again. Okay. And this was again a Thursday or something. So I said, I also want to do the triathlon. So he says, but you have to register. Registration again is not happening. I said, no, we'll find some way. I called up one friend of mine, Neville Billemoria.
Yeah.
Who's in Madras. He's a biker. He does brevets and he just recently did the Chicago Marathon. I'd run some runs with him earlier.
Neville, a very good friend.
Yeah, I did the Pondicherry Marathon together. I did other runs with him in Madras also. So I asked him, So he said, listen, it's a small event. They run the Ironman 70.3 distance. And so I wanted to, so he helped me, and I got the entry. And surprisingly, the entry was only 250 rupees, So I was wondering at $250, what organization will be there, what kind of event will it be? But we landed up in Madras. So there were 4 of us. We went together. It was me, Abhishek, Gaurav Makkar, and another friend of ours, Negi. 4 of us went us. And me and Abhishek shared a room, Gaurav and Negi shared a room, and that's how we landed up at the event. And we did it, and I finished my first, 70.3 race distance. The organizer was very generous. The cutoff was 10 hours for that race, and I did it in a little less than 9 hours, or around 9 hours. I forget now the exact time. So that was my first initiation into triathlon, and that's how the triathlon bug bit me. And then I went and did triathlon race, Ironman race in Turkey, and then I went other parts. And this was, I think this Madras race happened in the year 2016 or 15 or something around that.
By Chennai Trekking Club.
Yeah. I forget that
Peter Wangett.
Yeah, he had organized it.
Yeah.
And that's when I met Prabhakaran Mohan the first time. Another friend of mine from Delhi also later on went and did Ironman in Malaysia. Okay. And he introduced me to everybody as the race director of the Delhi Triathlon, because that's another friend of mine, Chiro Mitra, organized the Delhi Triathlon, and I used to help him out and go as the race director there. And so everybody thought I was somebody, but I was actually nobody. It was my first race in the thing, and we swam in some lake called Utam. It was a quarry basically.
Correct. Yeah.
Converted. I forget the name, Utam Bakkam or something like that. Some long name like that. And we swam in that lake, and then we cycled on the highway. And the run was, there was a building complex which was being constructed. So we were doing 5K loops basically to do a half marathon distance. And that's how that event happened. And then from there, the bug bit me. And another thing, I think triathlon is a great sport simply because it's cross training, You just don't do one sport. So you don't do run, So you also bike, you also swim, which is good. So it gives you good overall fitness. Okay. It gives you good cardio. And overall, it will be less strenuous on the legs because, swimming and cycling is there's no impact. Cycling, unless you fall and break something, there's no impact.
Yeah.
Swimming, there's no impact. Okay. And running has impact, on your joints, especially your knees, your ankles, your hips, your, all over the legs, basically, you get the impact. When you're running, all your internal organs also are moving inside, they're getting shaken up as you run every step that you take.
Right.
So triathlon balances that along with strength training, along with the right diet. I think it gives you a good, healthy overall, lifestyle.
Amazing. So, what was your first Ironman event?
Full Ironman I went and did in Kalmar in Sweden. Okay, that was in the year 2019. So actually in the year 2019, you were talking about Limca Book of Records. So I set one Limca Book of Record where I did all the triathlon distances in the same year. So I did sprint, I did Olympic, I did Ironman 70.3, I did full Ironman, I did Ultraman. All of them I did in the year 2019.
Wow.
Okay, and then I applied to the Limca Book of Records, and they registered it and they gave me a certificate. So I'm very happy and feel very nice that I could do all of them in 1 year. And luckily for me, that was a great year. I'd faced no injury. I was healthy throughout the year. I was very, much more fitter and, more agile, more stronger, flexible, everything, I was better than at that time. And I just turned 50. So I was very excited about the whole thing that at the age of 50, I went and did all these triathlons in the same year. And, it gave me a very nice, feeling about the whole thing. And then we all know next year the pandemic struck.
Right.
Okay. 2020 COVID happened. And because of which, everything was shut down. There were no events. We couldn't even get out of our homes, because of lockdown and curfew and so many other things that we all went through. So it was like a major, for me it was like a major milestone. Turning 50, doing all these events, doing many other races, and then everything shutting down for the next year or so before again. Things started to get opened, and
Right.
and if in those days, organizers also had started doing something called virtual events, where you could register for an event and run inside your house and finish the distance and get the credit for that. So I did some virtual events at that time. Even Ironman started virtual events. If there was Ironman VR series.
True.
Yeah. And I did all of them except one.
Wow.
The first one, I missed the email. It went to the spam folder. I had done that also. And I did a full Ironman VR, okay, in Gurgaon,
Wow.
where I swam, I cycled 180K, I ran 42K, okay, and I got a certificate from Ironman for that. Okay, and in fact, I think I was the only guy in India to do that Ironman VR full race. And I did all of them. There were some, I'm not sure of the exact number, but they had some 70 odd virtual races that
Wow.
they organized through that whole year and a half or so. Starting, I mean, and they had only one full, but otherwise they had multiple halves and a lot of other distances. Some of them were duathlons also.
Right.
Because in the beginning, swimming was an issue, because pools weren't open. So
Correct.
people couldn't go swimming,
Yeah.
and everybody doesn't have access to open water, like a river or a lake or some ocean or something. So they used to organize duathlons as well. So I kept, basically what I wanted to convey through all that is that even though the world was shut down and everything, I continued the regimen by doing these virtual events as well as doing my training. I was lucky to live on a farm, so I had open space. I had a pool at home, so I could manage these things.
Nice. So let me spend a little bit of time on the that year where you did all the events, all the distances in one go, and specifically the Ultraman. It is like what are the distances in Ultraman?
In the Ultraman, it's a 10-kilometer swim, 424 kilometers of cycling, and you have a full you have to do double marathon, 84.4 kilometers of running.
Wow.
So that's what an Ultraman is. The only thing is it's over 3 days. Okay, so the first day is 12 hours. In the first day you have to do a 10K swim and a 150K bike ride. The next day you go and do a 275K bike ride, and the third day you run the double marathon. Okay.
Wow.
And they give you exactly 12 hours every day. You start at say 5 in the morning till 5 in the evening is the window that
Right.
you have to finish your first day, second day, third day, same window. And you get to rest in the, when you finish your, so the total time given is 36 hours because like 12 into 3,
Correct.
36. And can't remember the exact time, but I did about 33 hours. That's what it took me. And the second day was the toughest for me. First day when I finished, I came home and I remember I was tired and I put ice in the bathtub and I filled it up with water, put a lot of ice, and I just sat on it to, just to recover. And I called the massage guy. He came and he relieved the muscles a bit. And then I went to sleep. And then I remember we had to wake up at 3 in the morning, for the 5 o'clock kind of start. So I woke up at 3 and I just went and sat on the sofa in my house and I said, that's it, man. I can't get up. I'm finished. I just have no energy. I just can't even stand up. And then for some reason, I just got up from the sofa and I went and had a Red Bull. Okay. And I went down. And no, sorry. I don't know. I just went down. I didn't have a Red Bull. I just went down and I came back. And then my wife was up by that time and she said, come on, let's go, let's get ready. And I said, no, Rinch, I don't think I can, and then I said, okay, we never give up. Okay. So let's at least go to the start and let's at least begin. Then we'll see what happens. So I reached the start and I'm in the car and I don't have the energy to get out of the car even. And that's when I had the Red Bull. I remember that's when I had the Red Bull. I felt better. And then I had a second Red Bull just as I was getting onto the bike. And suddenly the energy came. So there's a slogan with Red Bull has, Red Bull gives you
wings. Yeah.
So maybe I got wings because of those 2 cans, or there was somewhere psychologically it hit me or what. Once I got on the bike, then I was through. And then by the time I'd done the first hour, I'd done over 30 kilometers. I had to do 275 that day. And in my mind, I was targeting around 25 to 27 kilometers an hour average. So I said, shit, I think I'm going too fast, because I have to last for
that
11 hours,
kicked in, yeah.
And I don't need to, it's not a sprint. It's a long day,
Yeah.
It's going to do the whole day and it's going to get hot and it's going to get windy. And, in most places, mornings are calmer. As the day progresses, the winds, also pick up.
Yeah.
So, and it did happen the same way on the highway. I remember coming back, it was very tough, around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, though it was the month of November, so relatively cool, but it was warm. It was it was like in the 30s, the temperature, and it was very windy and it was a struggle, and long distance riding is a lot of undulation. People might think it's a flat course, but there are tons of little hills that come and flyovers that come and all that. So, you keep climbing, keep coming down, keep climbing, keep coming down. So the only way I realized, and I was very lucky, a couple of friends of mine who had done the Ultraman earlier had given me a very, very efficient plan, okay, on nutrition. that irrespective of you feeling thirsty or hungry, you have to make sure this goes inside you. Okay? The food, the hydration, the electrolytes, the water you have to keep having. And my wife and son had created this Excel sheet, very, very properly, defined that so and so time, one energy bar, one gel, some, dry fruit, some food, how many, one bottle on the bike has to finish by
1 hour.
by within that time,
Yeah.
And even though I was not feeling hungry or thirsty, I was eating, I was drinking, I was forced actually. And I also knew in my mind that that's the right thing to do, because I know very clearly in endurance sport, if you're feeling thirsty or hungry, you've lost.
It's too late.
Yeah, it's too late, because your body has given up and now it's asking for food. And by the time you eat that food and the food reacts and gives you anything, you would have lost time.
Right.
Okay. So just to keep ahead of the curve, you have to eat before you feel hungry. You have to drink before you feel thirsty. So I kept that rule going. And I remember I took about 11 hours, maybe less than 11 hours to finish this 275K bike. And I was very happy, that I finished the bike. And the third day, the run just happened. I had slotted in my mind that I have 12 hours to run. So I used to run the marathon in about 4:15, 4:30 easily in those days,
Yeah.
So I said I should target sub 5 for the first one.
Yeah.
Okay, if I do the first marathon in sub 5, now I have 7 hours plus to do my second one. So walk, run bhi hoga, so, I'll be able to do it.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what I did. I did my first in about 4:45 or something. I did my first marathon. Again, a very undulating course.
Right.
With there was one place with a very steep climb. You could only walk it.
Yeah.
There was no way you could run that climb. So including that climb and everything, I remember I did the marathon at about 4:45 or something like that, 4:50 or
Amazing.
4:45.
Yeah.
And I had little over 7 hours to do my second marathon. Okay. And that also I remember when I started the second marathon, the first 10-15K happened without a problem. Then the 10-15K in the middle, by the time again it had become afternoon, the sun had come out, it had become very hot and everything, so that became more of a struggle. But the last 10K, suddenly the energy, when you know now the finish line and you know that you're going to be an Ultraman, that you're happy about the whole thing, you suddenly get energy, your body produces it from wherever it stored it or wherever it, and that last bit of energy, I remember running that 10K. That 10K I ran in like some hour and 10 minutes or something like that,
Wow.
like I was running at a speed of around 9 kilometers an hour or something, when just before that, that 10K was a struggle, walk, run, more walk than run really.
Right.
Okay. So I think somewhere there is this thing inside a human being, which, there is some adrenaline that kicks in or what, when you suddenly get that energy and you'll be able to, close the race. So that in a nutshell. So I think the success for the Ultraman was discipline, training. That whole year was solid training.
Okay.
I was doing sometimes even more than 20 hours a week.
Wow.
Okay. Huge support from the family.
With a full-time job.
Yeah, for the full-time job.
Yeah.
Huge support from both at work and at home. Huge support from my wife and kids and everybody at home, at family, very important. I remember that year we never went out anywhere because simply it was training all the time. And, weekends are long training hours, So you have to get up at 3 in the morning to start cycling at around 4 in the morning or 3:30 in the morning. I remember I used to get up and go on the bike till about 8, 9 o'clock because you're cycling 150K, when you're preparing for races which are so long. Your training is 150K, 100, 200. I remember I did a 200K ride as a training ride for the Ultraman. So what I mean to say here is that you cannot do 200K unless you slot some 7 hours, 8 hours, for a ride.
Yeah.
And unless you start at 3 in the morning and cycle till some 10 o'clock, 8 o'clock or whatever, 11 o'clock in the morning, you won't get
in the,
in that heat.
Heat and stuff. Gurgaon weather.
Yeah. So therefore, I think, that support was huge. And finally, I think, the mind wills the body. Okay. So in your mind, if you are strong and you have very clearly defined goals, okay, and you're disciplined to the T, you follow a plan, your training plan, you follow, you have to trust the process basically.
Right.
Okay. And some days will be bad days. You'll get up in the morning, you'll have an awful run or an awful ride. You'll come back and question the training. You'll question the plan. My advice to everybody is just follow it, If once you've chosen the right coach and the right plan, then you have to trust the process. You have to trust the whole system. Okay. and the race day celebration.
Yeah.
Okay, that day you've come to bear fruit of all the effort you put in over the months before that race. Okay. Having said that, let me also tell you, for this race that I've come, tomorrow's race is the least prepared race for me. This whole year has been so much of work and so much of travel and so much of change in life that I've come here just on more willpower than endurance power.
Yeah.
Okay, but hopefully, fingers crossed, everything will go smoothly tomorrow, and I'll be happy to stand at the finish line with a medal around my neck.
Yeah. So that is very true when you said the mental game has to be strong when it comes to all these, especially the ultra. The longer it goes, the more you have to be stronger in the mind, right? So what are some of the mental hacks or mantras that you tend to fall back on?
I don't really see. I've always been a strong person. Even when I was much younger, and I've been very headstrong in the way I've done things. I've been pretty much my own boss through life. Okay, always I've had support from people around me. People have borne my you can say my idiosyncrasies in life also. Okay, and I basically believe, like I said earlier. So. Like I said, when I started, I just woke up and went and ran a half marathon.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there has to be some strong mind, which says, okay, you can go do this. Okay. I know so many people, when they register for their first 5K also, they end up walking it. Okay. They don't even run it. When I ran a 2:26 first half marathon I ran was 2:26 with nothing before that. It showed that there was some ability both in the body and the mind to reach that line.
Right.
Okay. So some of it could be because of my my construct, my upbringing, my family history, genes, whatever you want to call it. Okay. Naturally, it has come to me, and some of it has been honed over time, especially at work, especially with with people around you. And I've always believed, you surround yourself with people better than you. Okay. You learn from them. Okay. They'll push you, and you'll be able to do more. Okay. And so whenever I have also, I know when I used to play earlier, I used to be a motor racing guy earlier, I used to, right? I always was, with people who were, better than me. I remember just now running and all also, most of my friends who run and all, they're all decent runners, we can, I can learn from them. I can imbibe knowledge, I see the amount of effort they put in. It's not easy. Some of the endurance running, I know people who are doing like 200-kilometer runs, 100-milers.
Yeah.
Okay. And they're running in the mountains. For example, I'm wearing the Spiti Marathon t-shirt. I just ran this run just last month. Okay. That also, we just woke up, me and my wife, and we drove all the way to Spiti, which is some 13,000 feet in the Himalaya, mountains in Himachal. And we ran this run. Normally people go acclimatize, they spend a week.
High altitude and stuff. Yeah.
Another story I'll tell you. Khardungla, I went and ran the Ladakh marathon. So this friend of mine from Bombay called me and said that he wants to run Ladakh. Will I go with him? I said, yeah, sure, let's go. So we landed up in Ladakh. He reached there some 3-4 days earlier from Bombay. I ran a day before the run or so. I landed in Ladakh, and immediately I went to the expo to get my bib, and I had registered for a half. And I requested them and said, I've come all this way, and can I run a full? They said, sorry, you can't change like this, last minute. So there was a lady there. I requested her again. I said, please help. No, I've come all this way. She's okay. I'm giving you the bib. Don't tell anybody. And I changed my bib from a half marathon to a full marathon. And next day I just went and ran the full marathon, and it was so nice, and I was so happy that I, did that. And I did a very similar thing in the Nilgiris Ultra. I registered for a 50K. And on the start line, like some 2 minutes before the start of the race, I went to the organizer and said, can I change this and get a 75K or whatever bib they were running? She looked at me and said, she was a nice lady, I remember, young girl. She said, yeah, okay, fine. And she had a bib on her own. She took out her bib, which was a 70K or a 75K, I forget that distance now. And she gave me that 75K bib and said, okay, you go run. So standing on the start line, I shifted from a 50K to a 75K, and I ran it. And me and a army colonel, we ran, we became friends on the run. We started talking to each other as we ran. And we both came joint second. Yeah. So on the start line, we changed this, the bib like this. And he was running 70 from before only. So I changed on the spot, and we both ran together. and it was very nice.
Amazing. It clearly shows the.
And there's a lake there called the Paikara Lake. Okay, so next day, because he was in charge of that whole army thing, next day we went boating. I went and did boating in the lake and all, and it was very, very nice here. That little trip that we had in Ooty.
Yeah, it shows your mental fortitude, apart from the physical capability, right? Were there any sports involved as you were growing up?
No. School, there was no sport. I mean, whatever sport was, when you had sports period every second day or something, there was a sports period in the class.
Right.
So all the kids would go together and play some basketball or football or cricket. That's all. That was my sport. Nothing beyond that.
Right. What was your longest run as such?
I think the Ultraman run only. I've not done more than that. So I've done a few ultras which are like 50 and 75k types. But I think the longest distance that I can remember is the 84
double marathon.
Yeah, double marathon.
Nice.
Because I want to do 100k. Only thing is, after getting into triathlon, actually either you train only for ultra running or you do triathlon. And with my work, it's become a little difficult now to do both together.
Right.
But I think once I retire from my work and all, maybe I'll do a little more of ultra running and be able to build the distance and maybe register for a 100-miler or something one day and get that bucket. I mean, get that off the bucket list also.
Right. So in all the events that you have done, right, what would you consider the most memorable and most difficult?
So every event has its own charm. Okay, Venki. And even a 5k can be difficult if you race it.
Yeah.
So every event can't be a race. Okay, you have to choose some events as a race. The rest of the events you do have to be used as training runs. Okay, so every race, if you try to run it as a race, you'll end up injuring yourself, or you'll end up, it won't be good for you.
Right.
Okay, I mean, that's my belief. Okay, so a lot of the events that we register and we take part in are done as training. Okay, where you don't give your 100%, you enjoy. You meet your friends, you finish the race, you get your medal, you're happy, everybody goes home, there is some social media activity after the race, that's a different thing. But there are some events where you decide and you say, okay, this is where I'm going to train for a good finish, maybe a PB or a fast run or whatever. Okay, and that's where you have to, those are your racing events. Okay, now for example, last Sunday was the Vedanta half marathon in Delhi. I ran that. Now I knew I was coming to Goa this Sunday. So there's only a gap of 1 week. Now either that can be the race or this can be the race, or both can be. Now I ran a 152 there, which is way lower than my fastest half marathon time. But I purposely didn't push too hard. And Delhi this year has a more pollution also. It's come earlier than normal. Okay, and I knew I was coming to Goa, so I wanted to keep some, energy also. And secondly, Goa is a tougher race. It's, look at the weather, the humidity, the heat. Okay, so knowing that, I am balancing both. So I know tomorrow also the race is not going to be a race for me. Okay, it's going to be a race of finishing the race, not trying to win.
That clarity is very important.
Because if you haven't put in the training, okay, and if you haven't put in the effort, then you should not expect some fantastic result also.
Doesn't come out.
Okay, it's not. Otherwise, it won't be called Ironman. No, every guy can just get up and do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's one thing. I think tomorrow's race is going to be more on my ability to understand the course, pace myself through the whole course, keep myself properly hydrated, and fueled through the whole course. Okay, bide my time.
Yeah.
Don't try to use it as a fast initial thing. It's not a 10k or a 5k. It's a 70.3 distance race. It's a huge race. Whatever said and done, 90k on the bike is 90k on the bike.
Yeah.
Okay. After which we need to run a half marathon. The legs have a very different story to tell. Okay, it's running a half marathon by itself and running a half marathon after the biking 90k is a very different story. And this race has, the weather is against you, plus the course also I believe is about 600-700 meters of elevation.
Yeah.
Okay, that also is
by no means flat.
Yeah, so that also is there. Plus being a coastal area, there will be winds.
Yeah.
Okay, it could be headwind, crosswind, but winds are winds. Only the tailwind is your friend. Every other wind, is going to slow you down.
Right.
So keeping that in mind, I think that's how tomorrow's race needs to be done.
Nice. You're getting ready to do a lot of stuff pre-race. I won't hold you back more. But before we close, what are some of the learnings over the years
So
that
fine.
you would?
So you asked me a question before that, which
Yeah.
is my most memorable run.
Mm-hmm.
So I've done the 6 majors,
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
the world 6 majors.
Yeah.
For me, my most happiest run that I can think, I must have done over 400-500 of them by now, is the Chicago Marathon.
Wow.
That day I didn't feel I was running. That day I was feeling like Superman, I was flying. Okay. I didn't get a very fast time. I must have run about a 4:20 or something like that. So it's not a very fast time, but it was the happiest. Even when I finished the run, I could have run another 50 kilometers.
Right.
I was that easy.
That kind of day.
And there's this friend of mine, 2 of them that come from Canada, who were also running with, they'd finished before me, and they're both faster runners. And after that, the 3 of us went and spent the whole day looking at Chicago City. And seriously, Venki, we would have walked 40 kilometers.
Wow.
Okay, just going all over the place. We went to the Bean, we went to the buildings, we went to the market, we went had food 3 times, because we finished the run early morning. No, then we had the whole day for us. So we must have spent 30-40 kilometers walking the city and all. And then even though I came home late in the night, I remember we lost our car also. Then we found it. And finally, when we reached the hotel, it was midnight. I was still fresh. Even after having run the marathon and spending the whole day, sightseeing in the city, I had a lot of energy in me. So that I think was was the happiest run. And let me tell you one other story. I went to run, I did the 7 continents also.
Oh.
So Antarctica. So before going to Antarctica, I broke my hand. Okay, just 4 days before the event, I fell off my bike standing. I had cleated and I forgot. And I was standing and wondering, should I take a left turn or right turn at the crossing? And before I knew it, I'd fallen. A standing fall broke my wrist hand. Okay. So I reached, luckily I was in front of my house. So I went back home. My wife and me went to the doctor. They looked at it and said, there's a fracture. It has to be, operated. They have to put a plate and all that. I said, I can't do any of this because 3 days later, I have to catch a flight. And I have to go to South America, Chile, Punta Arenas, and from there a flight to Antarctica. So and I have paid this money some 2 years in advance because there's a waiting, you have to pay in advance and all. And I said, there's no way I'm going to miss all this. So now again, some compromise has to be done. No. So because it was winter and all, I was wearing a lot of jacket and, gloves and all that. So I just put a little bandage kind of a thing and I sat on the plane and I reached. I didn't tell the organizers because I knew if I told them, because they very clearly said you have to be fit and all, because there's no medical attention there and all.
Right.
So I hid everything from everybody. And as we were getting into the plane to fly to Antarctica, there's a guy who comes and sits at the airport next to me. He looks at me and says, you don't seem to be well. So I said, yeah, actually I'm not. I've got fever. Because by that time I'd got some fever. So I said, I have fever. And plus I have this hand which broke. So he turned out to be a doctor. Indian guy, settled in New York. For years. He's in Rochester. He's a doctor there. So he gave me immediately opened his bag, gave me some medicines, and he was very nice. He sat with me in the aircraft to Antarctica throughout. And, and we spoke throughout, and he gave me a couple of more pills. And when we landed there also, he gave me some pills. And that helped a lot. It brought my fever down and all that. And then I went and ran that marathon. After I finished the run, I went to the organizers and I told them, that, and I asked them that, would you have let me run? Because, knowing that I had, they said, well, if you told us, maybe we don't know. I can't say now, but most probably not. Okay. Yeah. And, but they were also happy, that I'd finished and all that. And not only the Antarctica, we had 2 runs to do. We had Antarctica and next day we reached back Chile and we had to run the South American marathon.
Yeah.
So I ran 2.
So next day.
Yeah. There was a gap of 1 day. So, third day, you can say.
Yeah.
So I ran
amazing
the marathon there, and I remember the African marathon. So me and my wife wanted to do Kilimanjaro, the mountain. So we went and I submitted Kilimanjaro, and 2 days later I went and ran the Kili marathon. Okay, so that's how I did that. The
Adil, I am telling you now itself, for the record, you are going to do really, really well in the ultra running community.
I hope so. I don't know. So that's how I did that one, I remember.
Yeah.
And then to your last question of, what is my, what can running has kept me away from, you can say, a lot of things which normally people would do. So I don't drink, for example. I'm a teetotaler. I don't drink at all. Not even tea, coffee, by the way. Okay. I try to eat healthy, but I have a slippery slope on that one. Let me be fair. I like my sweets, chocolates. So, but I have moved to dark chocolates, so there are less sugar in them.
Right.
Okay. I have my ice creams. Okay. That's why I have a slight punch also. Okay. Because, though I believe that if you're running so much and doing so much, at least a little bit of food
Treat.
I should be able to eat like that. Okay. But on the whole, I maintain a very decent diet and a decent lifestyle from a health perspective. I get in 8 hours of sleep every day. Okay. I think sleep is the most important out of everything. You may miss your workout, but you should not miss your sleep. It's very clear. Because the body only repairs when you're sleeping. The organs shut down and either they work very slowly or they shut down. And that's their rest time. And that's when your body is recovering for the next day. So there are a lot of these people who say that you should work so many hours a day or 70 hours a week. And, I think that's all bullshit if you ask me.
Yeah.
If you want a good, normal, healthy life, sleep is very important. In my mind, sleep is more important than any other factor of the human system.
Right.
Sleep, good food, good friends, good family. Okay. If you have these 3-4 things with you, you should be able to ride through, anything. Good job. Good people at work. The work environment has to be trustworthy. There should be no toxicity at work. I mean, there are ups and downs everywhere in your family, in your work life, everywhere there's going to be. But if you have good things around you, positive energy helps a lot.
Right.
Okay, so that's another thing I would say people should strive for. So if you're stuck in a bad job, in a bad relationship, in a bad environment, get out of it. Change, because there's no use staying stuck there and dragging yourself deeper into the hole.
Right.
Okay. And I have chosen athleticism, running, cycling, etc. as a way. It's my me time. My runs are my me time. I watch, for example, I run a lot on the treadmill in the gym. So I put on a little phone in the front and I watch a whole movie. I can watch a 2.5 hour movie and run some 20-30K on the treadmill, easily without any sweat.
Right.
I'm sweating a lot. But without any effort. Without feeling the effort.
Correct.
And I'm very happy doing that. So a lot of my movies are either watched in the planes going to place or on the treadmill. I don't watch movies sitting in the house in the TV like that.
Amazing.
Okay, so that's another thing I can tell the people, and choose whatever you want to do. Some people like tennis, so go play tennis. Some people like say hiking, mountaineering. Do whatever you feel, but pick up some physical activity. A few hours every day. A few hours means half an hour, 1 hour, whatever, every day is important for some kind of physical activity. I don't believe in all this. Some people say don't eat breakfast. Some people say don't eat dinner. Some people say don't eat carbs. Some people say eat so much, so less. I try to eat whatever good food. Limit your portions wherever possible. Eat everything.
Yeah.
Okay, don't limit yourself. Why should you not enjoy life? If there's a nice samosa in front of you, why not eat it? Yeah, there's nothing wrong. If there's a nice jalebi in front of you, eat it. Yeah, but now don't go and have 5 samosas together. Okay,
Yeah.
that's where the problem lies.
Correct.
Or you already have half a kilo of mithai together. Then that's where the problem lies. But I have 1 jalebi or 2 jalebis. I have 1 samosa. It's okay once in a while, no problem.
Right.
Okay, I think people who try to limit themselves and keep away from this for a certain period of time, they can do so.
And then go
But
down.
then they slide.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's better to live life in moderation, do everything. Okay, don't get committed or rigid, not committed, rigid about these things. Okay, and that's it. Yeah, and find passion in what you want to do. It'll automatically happen.
Yeah.
It should not be jabardasti. It should not be, oh shit, now I have to wake up in the morning. My coach will fire me if I don't wake up at 5 and do this and do that. If you have that kind of feeling, don't do it. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
Okay, do it.
Find
because
something
you love it.
that you-
you do it because you love it. Do it because you want to do it, because you're happy doing it. Okay,
Yeah.
and you will reap good benefits. And in office also, I started this whole sports thing in our company. And now there are times in some years we have over 10,000 people who take part in some activity or the other. And in our office, we made it clear any event in India, regards running, triathlon, whatever, their employee can go, pay the fee, finish it, we'll reimburse the fee.
Wow.
So we
Amazing.
reimburse every fee. So every week I'm reimbursing at least some 30-40 claims where somebody's gone and run some 10K somewhere, somebody's gone and run some half marathon somewhere, 5K somewhere. In Goa also, last couple of years, we've had a couple of people come and take part and finish and go. We've reimbursed their claims. So what I mean to say here is that we built this whole culture in the company
Yeah.
where people can take part in activity. We have a cricket team, we have a football team, we sponsor events for them, we sponsor the entry fees for their tournaments. Okay, we sponsor their kits. We do everything that is possible. Then we have these sports days in our different offices where we allow them to go and book a ground and it's like, remember the school used to have a sports day.
Yeah.
We do things like that.
Right.
Okay, so what I mean to say here is that is another side of mine which I have done to ensure that more and more
You're
people
leading by example. Yeah.
get into the physical activity kind of thing.
Amazing, Adil. So inspirational to listen to all this. Awesome, and all the very best to you tomorrow, and for all the events ahead.
Thanks, Venki. Thanks a lot for allowing me to come on your show like this,
No,
and
it's-
hope a lot of people see it and maybe get a little inspiration to do the right thing.
For sure.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
I hope you enjoyed that. If you are enjoying these podcasts and are finding them useful, please consider supporting the podcast by subscribing to it on YouTube as well as on your favorite podcasting app. It really helps. Thanks again for your continuous support. See you next week with another guest.